Hello everyone, Tactical Glitch here. It's been a while since our last battle replay casting, and so I thought today it's a good time to check out some exciting replay. This one is from the Warhammer World Cup from a while back, sent in by Contrarian Codex, a very good gunline player from Grand Cathay to Dowies, and in this battle as the Vampire Coast versus the Khorne army here. For the army builds here, we have a lot of gunpowder. 4 hand cannons, 5 handgun mobs, and 2 more deck gunners. That's enough firepower to down a dragon. Actually down multiple dragons. They're protected by a front line of zombie pirate deck cannon mob pole arms and surrounded by Mongols. One of them, the Knight Terrors Regiment of Renown. Leading the army is a fleet admiral with pole arms, vampire, lore of magic, with invocation of Nahak to keep things alive, gaze of Nagash to just shoot at enemy formations, and one of Jet for more power recharge. On the other side, for the Khorne army, we are seeing a front line of Marauders of Khorne, backed up by Khorne Gores with their anti-large armor piercing, possibly to hack down crabs, but there are no crabs on the field, so taking down Mongols will be their main purpose. Further back, there are some throwing axes, also excellent for dealing with crabs, but again, no crabs, so they would just have to be shooting at Mongols, even though they do have fire damage, so that can limit the hunger healing from the Mongols. There's also the extremely elite Bloodwake Berserkers. They have low model count, small hitboxes, making them ideal to just rush through the hail of bullets from the Vampire Coast gun line, and will be supported by the Hellforged Bellowers to just absolutely blast enemy formations to pieces and just grind in the infantry fight using Gore Feast, if I remember correctly. Yep, Gore Feast to heal itself up. Leading the army is Skull Taker somewhere, I think. Let me just find, yep, Skull Taker right there on foot. And going in for some infantry blending. And that's it for the army builds. Oh wait, there is also some Furies on the far side to run some disruptions against the enemy gun lines. And that's it for the army builds. Now let's get the battle started. As the battle begins, the Vampire Coast army immediately shifting to the right there as they try to stay away from that tree line as much as possible. If there are any Khorne forces in the trees, then the Vampire Coast gunline would not be welcoming that kind of surprise, as 1, they can't really see them as they're hiding in the trees, and 2, even if they see them, the trees would make excellent cover for the Khorne units to close in, as the Vampire Coast army can't really shoot them and waste their ammo onto, well, impassable terrain, aka trees, for the bullets. So yeah, now that the Vampire Coast army has shifted towards the right, they are in a very good position. The Khorne army has no choice but to approach them in the open, braving those hail of bullets and risking a lot more casualties. This Vampire Fleet Admiral is pushing up, activating one of Jet to get more winds of magic recharge, and on top of that, dropping and perhaps overcast Gaze of Nagash, blasting away at the Hellforged Bellowers, doing a good chunk of damage. Deck Gunners also have a similar idea, firing away at the Hellforged Bellowers, driving it back as they do outrange that Skull Cannon by a significant margin. So yeah, now Khorne has no choice but just to approach with their melee units and try to get into melee ASAP and grind through the zombie deckhand mob chaff roadblock. Mobility from Khorne as well, just moving up the flanks there, but immediately getting pushed back by those handgun mobs, doing some decent poke damage at those shieldless Murder Horsemen of Khorne. As for the rest of the melee units of Khorne, they are actually shifting towards the right as well, as they want to try a flank overload, focus their forces on one flank, and just ignore the shooting on the other side, as they can't really reach over to the other side of their formations. Hellforged Bellowers firing in, doing some very minor damage to the pole arms mob, while the Khorne Gores, the Murder Khorne with dual weapons, all charging in, trying to blend through those Vampire Coast chaff. Even the Murder Horsemen of Khorne are jumping into combat. They are not dedicated melee troops, but they do have dual weapons and bonus versus infantry, so theoretically they can do decent against the handgun mobs, but these handgun mobs are no cowards. In fact, they are dead, so they don't know how to rout, and they're just standing there and tanking the damage. while the Furies have been suffering at the hands of the Vampire Coast's firepower, and one of them already fading back into the warp. The other also taking quite a bit of damage. They need to jump into combat ASAP, but the Mongols nearby are definitely keeping them in check, because if they jump into combat against Mongols, they are just gonna get dumpstered in melee. While the Marauders of Khorne, their dual weapons and also their anti-infantry bonus is really helping them to grind through the enemy chaff, but they really need to shut down the guns at the back there, as they're slowly building up damage against the Khorne infantry. Khorngors have made their way through, driving back those Night Terrors, as they do not want to tangle with these anti-large infantry, while the Hellforged Bellowers have done enough shooting, decided to jump into melee and grind through the enemy missile backline as well. The Bloodwake Berserkers are also joining the fray, as they have slashed their way through those Vampire Coast chaff. There's not much from the Vampire Coast roster that can oppose them in melee. The problem though is the right flank of the Vampire Coast is still very much untouched, able to fire at anything that comes close to them. Like these poor Marauders of Khorne with dual weapons trying to push their way to the gun line, but unfortunately getting blasted to bits. Even Skull Taker is not having a good time. He might have a small hitbox and he's trying to juke the shots as well, but unfortunately the handguns and hand cannons in close range like that is just hard to dodge. And with all these missile units focusing on him, he is down to half health, forcing him to pull back while more dual weapon Marauders of Khorne try to fill the gap and rush the guns. Khorngors also pushing in, but they need to be fast. Oh no, these Khorngors are terror routed, but at the same time activating their unbreakable effect, locking their leadership state into that terror route, so they won't be coming back until their unbreakable has ended, and that is precious seconds wasted due to a misfire of ability. Bloodwake Berserkers trying their best to blend through the enemy troops, but these Mongols are some tough customers and are holding on just fine here, with still a lot of HP to spare, acting as a blockade against this elite unit. Oh, Mr. Sword of Khorne that just deleted a bunch of hand cannons, but either ways, those Khorngors that try to make their way through those gun lines is, well, not gonna survive. That unit is getting absolutely deleted. Vampire Coast throwing absolutely every single melee unit available to slow down the advance of the remaining Khorne units, buy more time for the gun line to just pepper them down. Every time they send a unit in, they're either slowed down, stopped, or just absolutely blasted to bits by the combination of handguns and hand cannons. Even the deck gunners are still firing. Oh no! Murder Horseman, what are you doing? You need to charge in and just shut down these deck gunners in melee. But alas, with most of their melee troops spent and their Bloodwake Berserkers blocked by the Mongols, the Khorne army simply does not have the momentum they need to keep plowing through those Vampire Coast formation and throw in the towel. GG to both players here, and seems like the Vampire Coast gunline has gained the upper hand here with the hand cannons, handguns, doing some excellent damage. These ones, 1,100 gold worth of damage value, and deck gunners as well, showering the Khorne units with a hail of bullets, while the Mongols and the deckhand mob roadblocks keeping those Khorne units at bay, slowing them down, buying more time for the gun lines to shoot. While the Khorne army here definitely could have used a little bit better of a coordinated rush. We saw a lot of the melee mobility, like the Furies, they're kind of sitting at the back there eating the bullets and not really rushing in at the same time as the melee infantry. So losing some precious seconds there, that could have done some good damage and disruption to the Vampire Coast gun lines. And unfortunately, in the end, they just suffered too much range damage and just don't have enough melee access left to keep pushing through those Vampire Coast gun lines, despite not having a whole lot of defenses left. And yeah, that is it for today's battle. I hope you enjoy this action here, and if you want to see more multiplayer battles, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.